Hey guys, so this is just a little intro to the raid video I said I was going to put up. I'm working on it right now, but I was like, well, I'll just make a little intro. What this intro is going to be is basically my opinion of my least favorite, well, my opinion, well, I guess my opinion of which raids are the best, but my least favorite raid to my favorite raid. Now, I didn't do the raid layers for Destiny, one, because I haven't done the new one out, and the other one, I've only done it once, so I don't really have a big opinion on it. But I don't really think the raid layers should count as raids. People will argue that point, but I'm just stuck with the regular raids. Balderglass, King's Fall, Crotas End, Leviathan. I just stuck with those ones. So I'm going to... I know I said you weren't going to see any of this, but anyway. I'm going to get that started up for you. I'll be talking in the background while there's gameplay on the screen, so hope you enjoy. Alright guys. Alright guys, so to start my list off, we're going to start with Balderglass. It's my least favorite raid, and I know a lot of people would give me a lot of hate for that, because especially year one players, this is like nostalgia, it's like the best raid ever, they love it. I didn't start playing until House of Wolves, so by the time I started playing, this raid wasn't really all that like important. You only did it if you just wanted to do it for fun, or if you tried to get the Vex Mythoclass, something along those lines, maybe the gear. But I started playing like right after the House of Wolves came out. The raid that was my first raid basically was Taken King, but I have done this raid. I did this raid with some friends just to say that I did it. I did the challenge mode for the special effect gear. Um, I don't like it. I don't know. It just seems kind of bland, but I guess that's because of the raids that they have out other than this one. The Templar fight just seems way too easy to beat. Now I've assumed that it definitely wasn't that easy to beat when it was current content, but by the time I started playing it, like people had already one manned it, and it was just there's so many cheeses. So I just really didn't. I don't really have any love for this raid, and it's not that the raid's a bad raid. Like the fight with Atheon is pretty interesting. The way that he teleports you into the different rooms and zones, that's pretty cool. And I feel like nowadays, the way the raids are done now, if they were to remake this raid, it would be amazing, and Atheon would be a real pain in the neck to deal with. But other than the fact that I like the Atheon raid, I'm not a fan of the Gorgon maze. Like, it's just annoying that like having to sneak around and then having people being stupid and getting you caught and everyone wipes. Um, I wasn't a big fan of the Templar fight. Even in challenge mode, I didn't like it because at that one you just make them stand still and fight them. I was not a fan of... I don't like that it takes like 20 minutes to even get into the raid. So, like I said, I don't think that the raid's a bad raid. It's just my least favorite raid. I don't really enjoy playing it. I never really understood how to even use the shield right there. Not really effectively, anyway. It took a long time to practice to get decent with it. But, yeah, that's basically my take on Vault of Glass. It's not, like I said, it's not a bad raid, just not my favorite raid. It's definitely at the bottom of the list for me. Whenever my friends are like, hey, do you want to run Vault of Glass? I was like, yeah, no, not really. But sometimes I did just because. Sometimes they just need that sixth guy. And that was where I was. But anyway, that's my least favorite. Let us move on to my second to least favorite, I guess is the best way to put it. Alright, guys. So, my second to least favorite is Crota's End. Now, whenever I first started playing the game, as soon as I got level appropriate, one of my former friends, was asking if I wanted to do a raid. I was like, okay, well, yeah, I like doing raids. I've done raids in other games. Why not? And so he brought me here to Crota. And the beginning part, where you drop down, you have to go through the Thrall maze. That I was never good at. I maybe made it to the bridge maybe a handful of times. I always died because I got careless, or I fell through a hole, or I got overwhelmed, something along those lines. and it was a little annoying. I did enjoy doing it because it was just fun running and going from lantern to lantern. It's just there were so many ads, and at the time I wasn't that good at the game, so I just always died. I got better whenever the challenge mode came out because I was able to make it through and I knew the game better. But again, the throw maze was definitely not my favorite part of the whole fight. Now, moving on from the throw maze, you go on to the bridge. Now, the bridge I didn't mind. It was all right as long as your team was able to communicate. It was fun. I actually didn't mind the bridge, and as long as we didn't try to cheese it, I thought cheesing it was stupid. I was like, why not just do what you have to do to get across the bridge? But I thought the bridge wasn't that bad, especially in challenge mode when everybody gets their own sword, and then you basically just have a giant sword fest against a bunch of different knights, and you just keep killing them until the door opens. Thrall Hall was kind of annoying with those streakers, but not too ridiculous. The Death Singer, she was a little annoying. I don't remember how I beat it or how I did it whenever I first started doing the raid. I think I was like way behind, and everybody else in the fire team just went up and killed her. I did participate in the challenge mode where you had to kill her within, I think it was 30 seconds or 45 or something like that. And getting to her was very interesting. You had to kill all these ads, and then for the challenge mode at least, you had to kill all the ads. You had to go in, you had to kill her, kill everything inside the little room where you start the Crota encounter. But then on top of that, you had to kill everything else that was wandering around outside. That definitely added kind of like some excitement to it because you couldn't just go in, kill her, and boom, you're done with the challenge. You had to kill everything. And I actually enjoyed that. Now, as for Crota, I like the animation on how you summon him. I like how you go stand next to that crystal, and then it's kind of like you go to another realm for the hive. That's a pretty cool, just visual effect. And the fight with Crota, I mean, like I said, by the time I started playing, Crota had been out for about a year. I think it was about a year by the time. Or no, it had been out at least 6 months before I started playing. So everyone had all these strategies already and like easy ways to do it. And of course, as well as everyone would know, if you were looking for a group, it was must have Gallahorn, must have Gallahorn. Well, I didn't get a Gallahorn until Taken King. So if I ran this, it was because the majority of the fire team were my friends, and they wasn't going to kick me. But you didn't really need a Gallahorn for this. I mean, yeah, Gallahorn was definitely like the beefiest gun in Destiny 1, and it definitely did drop Crota, but you didn't need it. And there was plenty of people that did like solo, like this gameplay in the background, solo gameplay, and they don't really use a rocket. They just use the primary. And but the point of the whole fight is you have to go out, you have to get the sword bearer, kill him, take his sword, got to get the chalice of light that you have to pass between your fire team, which I thought that was a cool concept. Like, you don't heal, you need the chalice to heal yourself. And then the person with the sword goes over and kind of hides out, and then he cues the rest of your team. The rest of your team drops Crota by dropping his shield, and then the sword bearer runs up and beats him up with the sword for a little bit, and then runs away, and then rinse and repeat. Now, I feel like that's kind of, I don't know, lazy, I guess, for a raid, because Crota's really the only actual boss that you fight. Like, there's the wizard you fight, which I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but you fight her right before you deal with Crota, but she's not really a boss. Like, I've taken her out by myself before. She's not a super challenging enemy. Crota, there's a whole mechanic to him, which is really awesome. I really enjoyed it, but the reason it's like second to last on my list is because it's just kind of lackluster. You don't really enjoy yourself when you're fighting Crota after a while. After you run it a couple times, then you're just like, going through the motions. Shoot this, shoot that, drop his shield, shoot him. I don't know. I got bored of it. I would do it every week when the challenge mode came out because I was trying to get the gear. Because out of all the classes, I thought the gear on the Warlock looked the best. So when the challenge mode came out, yeah, I did run this every week, but that was purely for gear. Once I got it, I stopped running it. Like I said, the Crota fight, the mechanics are interesting. It just doesn't do it for me. And the fact that there's only one boss in this is like a Destiny 1 raid lair. Just a bunch of different um, it's a bunch of different challenges and puzzles to solve, and then you fight a boss at the end. So this is literally a Destiny 1 raid layer, in my opinion. Not that it's a bad raid. Like I said, it's a good raid. In terms of the storyline, it was really good. The lore behind it is really good. I just can't say I'm a fan of it. Alright, guys. So the next one on the list for me is King's Fall. Now, like Year 1 Destiny players and how Balderglass was nostalgia for them because it was their first real raid. This was really my first raid because, like I said, I didn't start playing until the House of Wolves expansion came out. So this raid was the first raid that was like I was ready to do it when it came out, as opposed to Crota and Balderglass where I had to go back and do them. I really enjoyed it. I thought the mechanics for the fights was very different, especially after doing Crota and Balderglass, and then you come into this raid and it's so much different than anything else that we had encountered up to that point. I really enjoyed getting into the raid, which was a lot faster and easier than getting into Balderglass. It still had a little bit of a challenge, but nothing too severe. And then the fight with War Priest, I turned that fight into a cakewalk after a few weeks, especially when I got Black Spindle and I could just constantly keep firing at the War Priest. War Priest became probably the easiest encounter of the entire raid, in my opinion, at least for me. Totems was still a pain, but that was mainly player error, not really the mechanics. The mechanics were pretty simple. It's just, sometimes you come across people that don't want to do their job, or they can't do their job, or they just keep making mistakes. Like, everyone's had those bad raid players with them. So there's always that. Plus the totems, they were very demanding in terms of communication and having to be on point and doing your job no matter what. And then Golgroth was really fun. I liked his concept. I did not like how everyone wanted to use the cheese by sneaking into that little back corner and then just, getting Golgroth's attention and not having to worry about any damage. Because usually the person who went in there, they didn't really do anything to help kill the ads or anything. They just kind of hit out and then they shot a Golgroth and then just stood there. I preferred doing it the actual way. Now, I never did the actual, 6 orb strategy, the original way that you were supposed to do it. I've watched videos on it, and that looks really fun. I just never tried it. I thought it'd be really challenging. But you can never find a group that wanted to do that. They all just wanted to do the 1 orb strategy, drop the left orb or the right orb, whichever one, and then just go to town. I really enjoy Golgroth. Daughters became very simple, especially when Touch of Malice came out. Daughters became kind of a joke as compared to when it first came out. We had to hide way back in the back and pick them off a little bit at a time, and it took more than one rotation to drop the sisters, any one of them. We had to go 3 or 4 rotations. Later on in the game, once you got better gear or stronger, it became you go in, you do your runner, and take out one sister, and then do the second run and take out the second sister. And then Oryx was fun. There's a lot of opportunity to get a lot of gear because if you pop the 3 of coins before killing his shade every single time, you got a chance to get some good gear or Ingrams, exotic and legendary and all that. I got quite a few of exotic Ingrams from killing that shade. But all in all, the Oryx fight was definitely one of my favorites. It was also the first raid that incorporated the final stand mechanic. After you drop his health to 0, then you still have to try to kill him, so you can still lose right there at the end, which I have done before. But King's Fall all around for me was definitely the best one they had come out with. The best fight that I had gone up against in a lot of games, actually. It was one of the best encounters. The mechanics were really good. The fight was fun. And I don't know, like if you didn't really have a lot of time to look around, but if you ever looked around during the fights, Bungie did a really good job at like the artwork and the visual effects. Like, right now when you're fighting Oryx, you're up in space at the edge of his dreadnought, and you can see Saturn out in the background. I think it was all around a really good raid. I enjoyed it. I played it every week, 3 times a week to get gear and get all the stuff I needed, especially challenge mode. I really enjoyed the challenge mode looking gear. I got most of it for my hunter because I liked it the most. But yeah, King's Fall was really fun. The raid is fun. I like everything about it. It's unfortunately it didn't make my top favorite because there are a couple other ones that I like a little bit better than King's Fall, mainly because of mechanics and visuals and stuff. But alright, well, that's everything for King's Fall. Let's move on to my second favorite raid in Destiny. Alright, and now, my second favorite raid is the Leviathan. I know a lot of people don't like the raid, but then there's a lot of people that do like the raid, so it's kind of like divided. Some people do, some people don't. I think it's a pretty well done raid. I know when it first came out, I was stuck on dogs, and I had no way on how to do it. I watched videos on how to do it, and I just could not get it done. And I actually didn't even touch this raid for a couple weeks after I tried the first time. I just gave up trying. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to try it. I was just like, nope, this raid is dumb. I'm not ever going to do it. But then whenever I beat it, I was like, okay, I get it now. And ever since once I got past that wall, that like glass ceiling of issues I was having with just the one encounter, I didn't have any more issues after that except for the various, mess ups here and there. Dogs is actually one of my favorite encounters now in the raid. I enjoy the whole sneaking around, and then you gotta just like, not be seen by anything, and full communication, and then whenever you're ready, just fuck up the dogs. Just kill them all once. One go. The dogs, like I said, is very, very fun encounter. The gauntlet is also a fun encounter, which is really interesting because I'm all about wanting to fight bosses and enemies and everything. And really the only thing you do in dogs is sneak around, and the two people with the prisms are the ones that take care of like the tamers. And then the gauntlet, if you're a runner, you just fight ads and then you run around in a circle. But they're both really fun encounters. I actually enjoy running more than I do standing on the plates because I have a problem. Like I mess up sometimes, or I don't hear what the person says. Now for the baths was another one I was having real problem learning. Like it took me a couple weeks to get the hang of even baths after I got past the dogs. But once strategy started coming out and everything, I ended up learning how to do it. I learned that the pulse grenades were extremely OP for the bathers, and I got past that. I get past that now pretty much first go every time. Now Callus has a really cool concept as he split, kind of like Atheon. He splits the team up, 3 in the throne room, then 3 in the void. I personally prefer going in the void. I don't know why. I'm not really a fan of staying in the throne room. I guess it's just the way I play. I have been in the throne room before, so I could definitely say I prefer being in the void. I like, trying to keep from falling through the cracks and calling out what signs, and then taking out skulls, because I'm really good at taking skulls out. I have like the perfect guns to do all that. Sweet Business is really a good. Sweet Business comboed with like a warlock with the lunification boots. It's amazing. You just shoot all the skulls. But all in all, the fight with Callus is definitely one of my favorite encounters. I really wish that they would put more raids into the Destiny 2, not just raid layers. Because I think they did a really good job on this one, which is why it's my second favorite. Unfortunately, it's not my favorite, and I think that's mainly due to the fact of... I think it has to do with the fact of Destiny 2 in general has been a little bit of a disappointment as compared to Destiny 1. Hopefully, with the update and then the new expansion coming out in September, all that will be fixed, and Destiny 2 will be a grand sequel to Destiny 1. But as of right now, Leviathan's just in second place due to the game that it's involved in. All in all, though, it's not bad. And this one also has the last stand mechanic, which I have messed up before. Me and my team, whoever I was running with, we weren't able to drop a shield in time, and we all wiped in. We had to start all over, which always sucks when you get to that last stand mechanic of the fight. You did all that work. You went through all that like excruciating like killing ads, fighting, doing the mechanics, getting everything done right. Drop his health down to 0, and then you still die and you have to start all over. It's a little unnerving and a little stressful, but all in all, the raid's really fun, and I enjoy it. There's so many different ways to beat this raid, but yeah, that's my second favorite raid. I really enjoy this raid. It looks beautiful as well, and the underbelly is so much fun. But all right, well, let's move on to my favorite raid of the entire game. Alright, and the number one raid that I enjoy the most that they've ever come out with is Wrath of the Machine. I really enjoy the concept of the Siva and kind of bringing Fallen back, because Fallen had kind of fallen off the map after House of Wolves. You saw him as you went through patrols on Earth and everything, but that was about it. There was nothing really that had anything to do. They even took Prison of Elders away, so there was really nothing with Fallen. So I like that this was kind of like an upgrade to Fallen, something we hadn't seen in a long time. I like the Siva concept. I was one of those people that was really bad at getting the Siva spores to come after me and my friends, because on instinct, when you're killing something, you just want to, like, okay, shoot the head. Well, you didn't want to shoot the head of the Siva Fallen, because then Siva spores would come out, and if you were already hurt enough, they could very well kill you. I am guilty of this. I did it a lot. I killed me or my friends a few different times fighting the Siva. Not gonna lie. But all in all, it was fun. And I really enjoyed the Axis fight. The mechanics to his fight was very interesting. Definitely something new. Never done before in any of Destiny 1. Actually, Destiny 2 either, for that matter. I like that. I like the Prestige mode. The Prestige mode was really challenging. The Challenge mode was a little stressful because of the timing and how quick you had to be. Like, you had to be on point at all times. But the Challenge mode was fun, too. I really enjoyed this raid. I enjoyed Vosik. I enjoyed Axis. They were two of my favorite bosses to fight. I like that the rooms you had to hide in for Vosik, and then for Axis, there's really not a point where you're not moving. You are constantly moving and running around and killing stuff and dodging and protecting your friends. There's not really any break times between damage phases with Axis. Vosik pretty much the same way. You're constantly fighting stuff, and then whenever you finally get Vosik injured or whatever, you gotta take out the monitors behind him and kill a little more ads, and then whatever you do, do not stop moving. And make sure you get to those rooms, and like same thing with Axis. Make sure you get on these platforms back here, and before he wipes you. There's just a lot of mechanics, a lot of wipe mechanics that you had to be really cautious of. But I found it more fun. I found it entertaining. The way they made it look, like the visuals of the entire raid, was fantastic. The siege engine was really fun to do. I really enjoyed being on my hunter and doing Keen Scout and being able to get my part further than anyone else, or using a bubble to protect my team as we progressed through the area to get back to the siege engine to repair it. And then all the jumping puzzles was really fun. Like, there was definitely some skill required, but on the other hand, you didn't have to try super hard, as opposed to, like King's Falls. Some of their jumping puzzles was just a pain in the neck to get through, and you always had to wait for. There's always that one or two players where you were waiting forever because they kept falling or kept getting knocked off. But Axis is definitely my favorite encounter in all of Destiny so far. The entire raid in general is my favorite. I like I said, I like the way it looks. I like the gameplay of it. I like the mechanics. It's not super ridiculous hard, but it's not like you can just stroll through it with one or two buddies and you guys can 2-man or 3-man or even solo it. Although there is a way to solo Axis, I don't know if you could solo the entire raid by yourself. There's a lot that you have to do. Like Siege Engine, I don't think it's even possible. I've not looked it up. Maybe there is, but I don't think it's possible to solo Siege Engine. But the Axis part, as you can see in the background gameplay, obviously is being soloed. It was a friend of mine's. I watched it, and I decided I'd go ahead and use it for this because I didn't have any gameplay of me actually doing this fight, even though I did it multiple times every week. I even did it after I wasn't going to get loot. I just did it for fun. That's how much I enjoyed this raid. As much of a pain in the ass it is sometimes, I did it for fun because I'm weird. But that is pretty much everything. That is my list of least favorite to favorite raids. I'm looking forward to seeing what other raids they come out with. I really hope they don't stick with the raid layer idea because I'm really not a fan of raid layers. But hopefully they stick with doing more raids, and I really look forward to what the next DLC, which is I guess something to do with the Reef, which might have something to do with the Queen. Maybe we'll have another thing with Fallen. A Fallen raid that'd be interesting because we've already had 2 Hive raids. Finally have a Cabal raid. It'd be cool to have another Fallen raid. Maybe not necessarily another Siva one, but anyway. I hope you enjoyed this video. Drop a like on it, and I will put the end card on here, and hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Alright guys, later. Alright guys, well there you have it. Now granted, I will tell you this, it is definitely not my best work that I've done. But I am a little rusty. But I promise the next one's going to be better. I already have an idea for another versus video that was suggested to me by one of my subscribers. We'll be putting that up. I might start working on it tonight, maybe. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you have any suggestions for other videos, comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Alright, later.